Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Brandon at A Watch and Unwind. So lately, the trend I've been seeing on a lot of channels I follow is there's been a real big uptick in the number of people that are getting the luxury watches stolen, particularly in places like London, but also from the comments I'm reading in places like New York or California. Rolex in particular seems to be a big issue. And today I'm going to share with you a couple of things that I do to make sure that my watch doesn't get stolen. Because as you can see, today I'm wearing my Omega Seamaster 300M. This watch is about $5 grand retail price. I paid just under $4 grand, but that's a lot of money. So here's the first thing I do. This right here. The only thing that makes sense when I'm wearing my Seamaster is that I take my PPK, James Bond's gun. This isn't actually a PPK, this is the Bursa 380, but it's the exact clone. That's the first thing I do. The other thing I do, I keep in my back pocket. Smith & Wesson Magnum, 44 Magnum. This is actually for bears since I live in Alaska. You need to have one of these on you. And the last thing I do, so my Rolex don't get stolen, I keep in my fanny pack right here. 9mm. But in all seriousness, guys, it's a big problem. Not only when you're wearing a watch, but all the time you have to be really aware of your surroundings, especially when you're wearing a luxury timepiece. A Rolex is essentially flashing around a stack of like 10 grand. A lot of people are gonna pick up on that. So to get real with it, guys, I'm being kind of serious here. If you're gonna walk around flashing 10 grand, essentially on your wrist, you always got to be aware of your surroundings. Every time I enter a room, regardless of what's on my wrist, I look around and I check exactly what's going on. If something bad was to happen, I do have either a plan to fight or a plan to escape in most situations. Not everyone's a fighter, and I happen to be a fighter. I did Muay Thai, mixed martial arts, more than half my life. I've had, over 10 professional fights, mixed martial arts, bare knuckle boxing, regular boxing. I know how to throw down. But if there's one thing people like to exaggerate, it's how much they spend on their watches. If there's another thing that people like to exaggerate, it's how good they know how to fight. And so if you guys don't take any sort of self-defense classes, know your own limitations. Pick up a firearm, get proficient with it, learn how to use it. But I do also recommend some sort of self-defense training for people in any sort of situation. I'm a physical therapist and I work with pediatrics. Most everyone else in my clinic don't have the same background as me. I'm in Anchorage, Alaska, where if you check out the crime statistics, is actually way above the national average, even when you're looking at places like Chicago or LA. And we have a big homeless population. So they have me come in and actually teach a little self-defense seminar with all of them, show them a couple real simple things that you guys could learn too if that situation arises. I recommend everyone learns how to defend themselves in a self-defense situation, but it is really important to know your own limitations at the same time and have some sort of escape plan. The next thing I'm going to recommend is if you know you're going to a certain area, don't wear your most expensive watch. I can think back when I went to a trip to Cancun, Mexico. I didn't have too many watches at the time, but I did have my Lange jeans. That watch was $1,000. I didn't wear that on vacation. I wore a cheap Fossil watch I got way earlier than that. It was about $40. And that's what I took with me on vacation. God forbid something happened to it. I'm just out $40. I don't really care. And I didn't lose the most expensive watch in my collection. The funny thing about that too is that Fossil watch, as you guys probably know, has like 0 water resistance. I wore it swimming around the ocean the whole time, swimming in all the swimming pools, and it held up. The other thing that you guys got to be careful of is what exact watch you're wearing and where. So if you wear your Rolex, that's the most easily identified watch out there. Not many people know too much about watches like we do, but they know Rolex and they know what it looks like because it's so iconic. You could show a Rolex silhouette to most people and they'd be able to tell you that that's a Rolex, but if you showed them, for instance, this Omega with the kind of wacky hydrogen release valve, they're not really going to know what that is. And even if you tell them the name Omega, unless you're into the watches like we are, they're not going to know, but they know Rolex. So a lot of people trying to score quick money, they see that on your wrist, and all they know is that it's expensive. And just be smart, guys. So like I said, I live in Anchorage, Alaska, but I've never had any problems here. I live in a good neighborhood. There's a couple neighborhoods I'm not going to go at night. And there's especially a couple neighborhoods at night, I'm not going to be walking down the sidewalk. If there's places like that in London or anywhere else, you guys just got to be aware of your surroundings. Don't go out at night. If you are going out at night, go with a couple of friends. Let me tell you guys a story about a buddy of mine. He watches the channel, so you know who you are. He got his car stolen. Do you guys want to know why? He left the keys in the ignition and the car running. When he left his car, walked inside a Domino's pizza and proceeded to wait for his pizza for 30 minutes. When he came outside, of course your car is gone. It's the only logical thing to happen in that situation. It's an unfortunate situation, but what you guys have to realize when you're wearing a Rolex, Omega, Patek, or anything else is that you essentially have a target on your back. You guys have to realize that fact and be aware of it so that if something arises, you know how you're going to react. You need plan A, B, or C, because if you don't realize that fact and you have no plan at all, that just don't work, guys. Some sort of self-defense training, some sort of firearm training, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of what neighborhoods you're traveling in and in what time, and try to go out with a group of friends. Stay safe, guys.